Hey there. I almost said good morning because it's good morning for me, but not necessarily for you. Here's 924, the last section of the chapter of the whole book, actually. And tomorrow you'll just have the closure, or the next class, I guess you could say, or thing will be just the closure. So this is really closing in fast. So in here we have 924 simple interest and tips, and we've already kind of worked on some of these tips for our percent stuff. So this could go pretty quick for you. In 970, what's the tip? Kendra has 3 friends who have birthdays during the summer. Every year she buys them dinner to celebrate. This year the bill for the dinner came to $125. I like to leave a tip for our wait person for good service, but I never know how much money to leave. Rhonda replies, I always leave a 15% tip. Then Shirley says, but our service was really good, so I think you should leave 20%. Without using a calculator, find 2 different ways to calculate 15% tip that Rhonda thinks he should leave. So first, we got to remember it is $125, right? And we've been talking about this in the percent stuff where if you decided to just do, if we figured out what 10% is, right? And then we figured out what 5% is, we can add them up to get 15%. Now, remember, $125. So to do a 10% tip, just reminder that a 10% tip is just a movement of decimal places. We've been talking about this for such a long time. That's kind of been our short way of doing it. So it's $12.50, right? It is 10 or 1 out of 10, 1/10 of 125, or 10 out of 100 of 10 1/100ths of 125. So that's $12.50. To get 5%, the nice part is let's just cut that in half, right? Just cut that in half. So half of 12 is 6 and half of 50 is 25. So just like the 10 plus 5, we're going to add these up, right? Add them up, and we got a 5, a 7, an 8, and a 1. So 15% tip would be $18.75. Now, that's one method. A different method could be that we could work on our part before where we just said it's the total, right? That total times that percent. That percent is a decimal or whatever that happens to be. And what is that going to equal? That's going to equal the part that we're looking for. In this case, it's going to be the tip. So the total is that 125, right? And now our percent, but it has to be listed as a decimal, right? Or fraction. Fractions are totally good here too. 0.15, and that will equal the part. When we do that multiplication, you should get the exact same number of 1875, right? 2 different ways to compute a 20% tip using a calculator. I would just double, right? Double it, and by doubling it, I would get $25, right? $25, right? That's what I'm doubling is that 10% to get 20%, okay? I could use the exact same method down here, but what would I do? I got to change my decimal, right? That equals, now it's no longer 1875, but 25, okay? Ron and Shirley were not able to convince each other of how much money to leave for a tip. So Daja said, let's compromise and leave an 18% tip. Find 2 ways to calculate the 18% tip that they will leave. So for this one, the easy one might seem to do the 125 times 0.18, and that equals, what is that one, right? Well, that one turns out to be $22.50 when you do the math. But on the other side of stuff, what we could do is we could figure out what a 1% tip is, right? A 1% tip is going to be $1.25. Now, how could we do this? We could do we could do the 15% tip, which we already know, right? And the 15% tip, which is $18.75, that was from previous work. And then what could we do? We could add 3%. Right? And 3, basically we're adding 3 of those. So we're adding those 3 to get $3.75. And when we add that, we're going to get the same price that we had here above. Now, even a third way we could do is we could just say, let's do 20%. And we're going to, whoops, not $20. Sorry about that. We could do 20% and we could subtract 2% to get my 18%. And what's 20%? Well, 20% we knew from the previous problem that was $25. And what's 2%? 2% is two of those, right? And that is $2.50. $2.50. So we subtract. And what do we get? $22.50. Okay. All good options for finding that out. Lorraine's father wanted to teach her about saving money. He offered to act as a bank and keep her money safe for her. He even said that he would pay her 4% simple interest on her money for a year. In other words, if she gave him money to keep for her, after 1 year, he would add 4% of the original amount, the principal it's called, to her savings. Lorraine told Jill and Mickey about this. They quickly went to their parents to propose similar plans. Below is information about the arrangement each girl made with her parents. Lorraine says, I gave my dad $1,000 and he will pay 4%. Jill states, my mom offered to pay me 5.5% interest and I gave her $800. Mickey explains, I gave my parents $950 to my parents. They will pay 4.5. After 1 year, how much interest will each girl have earned? Show your work. Okay, so 4%, right? What I can do, let's just do Lorraine in red. Let's just do Lorraine in red. And what we can do is we can say, what's 1%, right? 1% is moving that decimal over to those two places, right? And 1% is $10 out of that 1,000. So that means that 4% is what? $40, right? So this is Lorraine. Now let's choose blue. Blue is Jill. My mom offered to pay me 5.5% interest, and I gave her my $800. Well, let's do that 1% again. 1% is $8, right? $8. Now, I'm going to also figure out what is 0.5%, and 0.5% is 1/2 of 1%, so that's going to be what? $4. So now 5% plus 0.5% is going to be what, right? So 5%, hopefully I'm not getting too much room, 5%, and then the 0.5%, that's what we're going to do. 5% is 40, and the 0.5% is 4, right? So Jill has $44. Better deal, huh? Well, better percent at least, right? With even less money. Okay, and then let's do green for Mickey. Mickey has $950, right? Mickey, hopefully I spelled that right. And that is $950 at 4.5. So what's 1%, right? 1%, it's right up here. 1% is $9.50, right? $9.50. 0.5% is 1/2 of that, right? 1/2 of $9.50, so 1/2 of 9 is $4.50, and then 1/2 of 50 cents is 25. So $4.50 plus that other quarter will be $4.75. Okay. So now let's figure out what that would be. 4% is $9.50 times 4. So 9 times 4 is 36, right? And then the 4 times 50 is $2. So 36 plus 2 is $38, right? $38. And then we just need to make sure we have I got it all kind of lined up, don't I? Let's add that. The 4 plus 0.5% gives me 4.5%, right? And that's 75. That one is going to be $42.75. There we go. And let's take a look here. $42.75 for Mickey, $44 for Jill, and $40 for Lorraine. How much money will each girl have after 1 year? We just need to add those up, right? Lorraine has $1,040. Whoops. I do that, don't I? Quite a bit. Lorraine has $1,040. Jill has 44 plus 800, so that's 844. And then last but not least, Mickey has 4275 plus 950, so that's going to be $992.75. Okay. All right, everything after this is extra problems, so you could just jump right into your work if you wanted to. John wants to borrow $15 from Tyler. Come on, says John. I'll make a deal with you. If you loan me this $15, I'll pay it back to you with 35% interest next week. Or I'll pay you back the $15 and an extra $5. Your choice. If Tyler agrees to loan John the money, which deal will give Tyler more money in the end? The 35% interest or the extra $5? So what we need to do is... First, we should hopefully see that if it's $15 and an extra $5, right, that's going to be a total of $20. So that's one option. Now, the other option is the $15 with 35%. So let's do the work for that, right? So when I'm looking at this one, let's do the 10% of 15. 10% of $15 is, whoops, I want 10% is $0.15, right? 0.15, and now 5% is half of that. Half of 15%, half of 15 cents is 7.5. Now we could leave it at 7.5, right? Oops. 7.5, not 75, sorry. 0.75 cents. Now that doesn't make sense, so we do have to round that, right? Well, we'll have to round that to $0.08. Okay. So now we need 30%, so we're going to take and build our 30%. So 30% is 3 times that, right? 3 times that. So $0.15. I made a mistake, didn't I? I found out something didn't feel right all along, and 10% is not $1.50, so 5% is not that. Sorry about that. 10%, I did a 1%, not 10%. That's $1.50, and then half of $1.50 for 5% is going to be 75 cents. And then 30% is 3 times that, so that's $4.50 plus 75, right? Because we need 35%. So 35% is the $4.50 plus the 75. So $4.50 plus 75, right there, right? And what does that give us? $5.25. So what's the better deal, huh? Definitely this 35%. Okay, Gina and Matt both arranged savings plans with their parents. Gina's parents promised to pay 8.5% interest. Matt's parents offered only 3% interest each year. When Gina heard about Matt's arrangement, she said, "That means I'm going to have more money than you next year. Discuss Gina's comment with your team and explain whether you agree or disagree." Does that mean you have more money? Not necessarily. Hopefully I got that spelled right. Not necessarily. Because what if Matt had $1 million at 3% and Gina had $1, right? It really depends on who has more money, right? More money. Now, will she earn more? It's a higher percent. Earn more, like in relationship to how much money she has? You bet. That percent means that she's going to have more return on the amount of money she has. But if Matt has $1 million at 3%, he's going to get a lot of money. And if Gina had $1, even at 8.5%, that's 9 cents. That's not very good, right? So it just depends on who's got more. Learning log. Take a moment to just kind of read and answer. Again, that's really good for you to work on developing your thinking. Okay. Here's the. This is much like we've been talking a ton about, right? If you had to do 13%, find 10%. Find 10%, find 1% to get to 13, then to put all that together, right? We've been working hard on that. Hey, there's those core answers for you. You're looking at the last part, but continue to show your work, please. Continue to show your work. Okay, congratulations. After you complete this, that's the last one for you. And then the last actual just individual lesson. Nice job.